everyone, I'm Carol Ann Riddell, and welcome to Arts in the City. First up, we've all heard the phrase, a memory like an elephant, but how much do we really know about these giant mammals? A new exhibit at the American Museum of Natural History explores just how extraordinary elephants truly are. Here's Andrew Falzone.
Whether it was Jumbo, the giant African elephant, or Dumbo, the adorable Disney animated feature, we seem to have a love affair and fascination with nature's biggest land mammal. And that love affair is now on full display at the American Museum of Natural History in its latest featured exhibition, The Secret World of Elephants.
Because who doesn't love elephants? You know, everybody's fascinated by them. They have such a wonderful reputation. And when people like something, it makes them curious.
In their heyday, elephants once roamed nearly every continent. Today, they're limited to Africa and Asia. The exhibit brings you face-to-face with two life-size elephant replicas like this African bush elephant, the largest of the three species that still survive. The other elephant that you'll see is long since extinct.
We like to give you something that you can't really get anywhere else. So to come face-to-face with a life-size woolly mammoth, it's not something you're going to do every day out in the world. And I think there's a real value to that in being able to just approach an animal, doesn't move, gives you a chance to study it, to walk around, and to feel that you're in the presence of something that's no longer alive. That's a thrill.
Ross MacPhee is Curator Emeritus for Mammalogy at the museum and was lead curator for elephants.
We spent time on questions about evolution. Why do we have elephants that look like elephants? I mean, it's not an obvious kind of result from evolution that you'd have this organism that's 5, 6, 7 tons with a very long nose that it uses just like a human uses its hands. What's going on there?
And that's the wonder of an elephant. Their trunks are strong enough to pull down a tree, yet nimble enough to pluck a single blade of grass. Part of the exhibit focuses on the concept of infrasound, extremely low sounds elephants make with their feet, the vibrations or communication that travel through the ground and up the legs of the elephants into their brains. Touchable teeth allow visitors to come in contact with chompers from a mammoth and a mastodon-like species, and some of the replicas take the concept of cute to a whole new level.
If there's one feature of the exhibition, we made a life-size dwarf elephant and its baby. It's hard to beat that baby elephant for cute factor. Might be the cutest thing we've ever made. We also tend to make the animals in the exhibitions. So no taxidermy here. If we have an elephant, it's an elephant model that we've made.
The tail end of the exhibit focuses on elephants' role in culture and religion throughout the world.
I would say that given the sacredness of elephants in both Buddhist and Hindu cultures, there is a very high degree of tolerance towards elephants.
And that tolerance is important as human beings begin to encroach on the wide open grasslands where elephant herds used to roam freely.
That sets up the following problem: human-elephant conflict. It's something that happens a lot in places like Central Africa, South India.
So even if elephants come out and raid crops and very often kill people and so on, by and large, people would not retaliate.
And the exhibit shows some of the low-tech ways human-elephant issues are mitigated, including one technique that is both beautiful and right out of Mother Nature's playbook.
Honeybees. Elephants don't like to be stung any more than humans like it. So you stay away, right? And elephants are quite clear on what a bee can do. So if you have hives around and they see the bees and they hear them and so on, they're going to turn around and go away and leave your crop alone.
And this video from Save the Elephants shows just that, bees sending elephants stampeding in the other direction. Farmers also enjoy honey from the bees, which provides more income, a wonderful mix of maintaining human needs while humanely managing wildlife.
That combination of inspiring wonder, but also really inspiring a sense of responsibility that we have for stewarding the planet is something that I hope people take away from this.
I'm Andrew Falzone for Arts in the City.
Flowers in the family. We visited a fourth-generation business in the garment district that's been making fabric flowers for decades, bringing old-world craftsmanship to modern fashion, one blossom at a time. Blooms even Mother Nature might admire. Emeritus Schmalberg on West 36th Street has been making fabric flowers by hand since 1916, supplying artificial blossoms for everyone from designers and brides to A-list celebrities.
We've done flowers for Lizzo, Paris Hilton, Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, Beyonce, Anne Hathaway, Sarah Jessica Parker.
Adam Brand is a fourth-generation owner here, a flower guy in his own right, determined to keep this custom accessory craft alive. But he explains that's no small task in a fast fashion world.
Today, I know one feather guy that still exists, and we're the last legitimate factory in New York that makes fabric flowers. There's a lot of hard work that went into my family and working Saturdays and staying late, not getting paid. There were some very, very, very concerning times where I legitimately would have told you, I don't know if we'll still be here in a couple of years. And every time it got really grim, you get an order from one of our clients. And that's kind of where there's a special magic to this place.
A place and a family rooted in survival.
My grandpa was incredible. He is a Holocaust survivor. He was born in Poland. He was there when the war broke out. He lost his mother, his father, 2 brothers, a sister. They were all killed by the Nazis. I've heard countless stories about terrible stuff. And I've also heard stories just about, again, how wonderful he was. He was a survivor, through and through.
And did he love this business?
Love. He loved this business.
And the business of making fabric flowers is in some ways much like it was 100 years ago.
The whole process has been around over a century, and a lot of our dyes and molds have been around that long as well. These things are old, these things are heavy.
You're not joking.
This whole entity is a combination of some really amazing vintage tools, molds that are irreplaceable, and staff members that are incredibly talented and also irreplaceable. So here is a silk satin faced organza.
It all begins with a piece of fabric that's starched and spun, then stretched on frames to dry and prevent wrinkling. Layered fabric is then cut using these machines, which turn out fabric petals that ultimately go from flat to fabulous.
I'm taking this dahlia petal and I'm pressing it in this daisy veiner.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens.
Okay.
So because it's silk, I can do a few at a time. So these molds are very hot.
Yes.
So you have the heat, you have the pressure.
Wow,
And then you
look
have
at that.
press pedal. You can feel it, it's warm.
That's amazing. The final stop, shapes are combined with painstaking care to create individual flowers.
So the roses have 2 shapes. There's one shape that's used to create this bud in the center.
Yeah.
And then a larger shape in the back to create the finished rose.
Will Adam's children grow into the family business? Maybe, he says, but only if they want to and the company is still there. For now, his hope is to simply remain firmly planted.
My hope is to continue this craft. I love that we make something that makes people happy. Real flowers as they exist in nature is one of the most wonderful things that are created in our world. And the fact that we're able to mimic those and just create that beauty is amazing.
Many fashionistas love striking or exaggerated looks that attract attention. And lately, it's been all about sleeves. Donna Hanover takes us to a new exhibit where we see how statement sleeves are once again having a moment.
Big, dramatic sleeves have taken the fashion and film worlds by storm. Witness the award-winning movie Poor Things with Emma Stone, stars on magazine covers, fashion models on the runways, celebrities at the Met Gala, and actresses on red carpets. According to a new exhibit in the museum at FIT, statement sleeves have a lot to say. The curator of costume and accessories, Colleen Hill, explains that elaborate sleeves can signify status, taste, and personality.
If you have very big sleeves, your waist might look narrower. It can also be about expressing power or your own personal style.
It starts with fundamental forms showing in black fabric shapes like the leg of mutton, the kimono, the bishop, and the bell. Then in opening statements, we see a dress that Colleen calls the poster girl of the exhibit.
What's important about this dress?
It is the perfect leg of mutton sleeve that really epitomizes the late 1820s into the 1830s. It's a bit of luxury. It's a lot of fabric at a time when fabric was very expensive.
The museum at FIT uses nearly 80 pieces from its collection to highlight categories like tucks and ruffles.
One of the best examples is from Thierry Mugler, and it's a collection from 1979. It's this beautiful metallic pleated dress, and he's really getting into the idea of the big shoulders that we associate with the 1980s. The blouse that's shown on this ensemble is by Givenchy, and it's from his first collection. As you can probably guess, it's flamenco inspired.
Another section is puffs and folds.
Puffs are essentially what I'm wearing right now. It's volume at the top of the sleeve toward the shoulder. So the example from the 1890s that's on the far end has a puff, but then it has these bands of fabric that extend over it. It's a really unusual style.
I tried to get into the spirit and asked Colleen if the small puff in my sleeves qualified as making a statement.
I love it. It's beautifully tailored. It actually reminds me of Schiaparelli and her great suits from the 30s, the beautiful sleeves she made.
Well, my statement is, I'm here at this wonderful exhibit.
Thank you.
There's a very striking pantsuit, bright orange, big sleeves.
This is a style by Yves Saint Laurent from the early 1990s. It still has a little bit of that 80s shoulder that you think of, that wide shoulder, but it's also kind of daring and risque.
Detachable sleeves are highlighted as a way to completely change the look of a garment. And they're also important in this shirt by Lucy Jones, designed mostly for people in wheelchairs. The shirt is short, it has magnetic closures, and the detachable sleeves allow the wearer to change and create a new look quickly.
Next, there's a section called sheer and split.
Well, here I showed various ways that sleeves can highlight the arms. I have a beautiful circa 1930 hostess gown here that it has this split at the back of the arm. So if you're actually hostessing, you're holding a tray, for example, it's actually a somewhat functional style.
The final section, asymmetrical and mismatched, includes a dress from Christian Francis Roth.
He was playing on the idea of a crayon and turning that into a sleeve, which I think is so whimsical.
How long will sleeve mania last this time around in the design world?
Anyone can wear a statement sleeve. They come in various price points, so I'm hoping they'll be around a bit longer.
So do you think sleeves have another trick up their sleeves?
I do. I think there's so many ways to do a statement sleeve. We haven't seen everything yet.
The exhibit in the museum at FIT is free and it runs through August 25th. I'm Donna Hanover for Arts in the City.
Spring is in the air and it's time to smell the flowers at the New York Botanical Gardens' annual Orchid Show. This year's show, titled Florals in Fashion, features thousands of orchids adorning designs by 3 New York fashion designers. On display are new designs by fashion labels Colleen Strata by Hilary Taymor, Dauphinette by Olivia Cheng, and Flower Pistol by Kristen Alpaugh. The 3 budding fashion stars have created dramatic, en vogue pieces. The designs were inspired by the orchids and the natural world and feature breathtaking floral displays. Orchids are one of the largest and most diverse families of flowering plants on the planet. To create the Orchid Show, the New York Botanical Gardens identified and assembled an extraordinary selection of these colorful and coveted flowers, including iconic and rare specimens. The Orchid Show, Florals in Fashion, is open now at the New York Botanical Gardens through April 21st. For more information, check out their website, nybg.org. Next up, native New Yorker George G. first fell in love with big band music as a kid. Now he's the leader of his own big band, bringing swing to jazz clubs here in the city and around the world. Here's Susan John.
For almost 3 decades, George G. and his swing orchestra have kept things in motion here at Swing 46 Jazz and Supper Club in Times Square.
Are you the only Asian American big band leader?
Well, my publicist, me, says that I am the only professional Asian American big band leader in the world.
A self-crowned title G wears proudly after 44 years of rocking the swing scene with his big band, the George G. Swing Orchestra. A unique lifelong passion born of familial bonds.
I guess in my formative years as a teenager here in New York City, I used to listen with my dad to a radio program called WNEW. And they were the hosts of a program called a Make-Believe Ballroom, where they would feature the big band sound. The sounds of like Sinatra, Glenn Miller, Count Basie, Duke Ellington, and all the great American jazz big bands. And that was a connection that my dad, a veteran from World War II, he would inform me about all the times that he would listen to that music and was exposed to it. And I spent a lot of time with my dad listening to that program, and it really inspired me to like the music and dream about being a band leader one day.
And that love for the big band blossomed in high school.
I wanted to play in a symphony orchestra. I played string bass, upright bass, but they didn't have room for another bassist. So my music director, he said, George, we have a spot in the stage band, which is another name for a big band.
In college, the big band enthusiast continued to pursue his passion by bringing the antiquated American art form to the school's radio station.
In that era of punk rock and new wave, I started my own make-believe ballroom. And I did a program, all that music, and I thought about all that times that I listened to it with my dad, and it became wildly popular. And this is back in the late 70s, and no one was interested in big band swing jazz.
That's where the budding band leader met his idol and mentor, the king of swing, Count Basie, who inspired him to start his own band. A challenge at first, as the Asian American band leader was rebuffed by many.
Being Chinese American, Asian American, I was not accepted in old school Pittsburgh when I started playing performances at country clubs and different private events, and that was not used to a mixed organization of musicians. So I kind of think back in the early 80s or so, I broke a lot of that barrier, and it took a long time.
But G eventually won over his audiences, honing his craft using advice from his mentor.
Count Basie told me, watch the audience, when you see one guy or one folk snapping their fingers or tapping their toes, then you know you're doing the right thing.
Words of wisdom, G says, helped him discover that chemistry between the band and audience makes the music come alive.
When you play for dancing, it's very interactive. There's not a barrier between the stage and the dance floor.
And that's where G comes in, acting, as he puts it, as the traffic cop of the stage, directing the dynamics of the performance and channeling the energy of swing time music.
The big band is a true American art form. It originated in the 30s and the 40s here in the US of A during wartime era, specifically for dancing at that time. And usually the typical big band instrumentation is 5 saxophones, 4 trombone, 4 trumpets, and a rhythm section of bass, piano, drums, and guitar, and also vocalists to handle the singing.
G's band is scaled back from 17 to 12 instruments, but still has the same big band sound.
So a big band is not just a loud sound, but it's a full sound. It takes advantage of all the chordal structure and makes sure that there's a chord and response between the brass and the reed section.
Although G is a fixture at New York City venues, he also plays worldwide, where he says a good portion of his audience is often Asian.
When I travel the country and the world doing events, sometimes I look at the dance floor And I'm so proud and happy that it's so supported by Asian Americans that love to dance. And it's sometimes it's more than 50% of the audience. I can't figure out why, but I suspect that it's a good chance for them to let their hair down. Growing up, I feel like, the Asian American culture, as beautiful it is a little bit more restrictive than American culture, I guess. And swing music and the dancing, the Lindy Hop, gives the folks a chance to kind of move their body in a way that you don't normally move.
And G has inspired countless to move their bodies playing the oldies while keeping up with the times. His band just recorded a new album, Winter Wonderland, available now. The George G. Swing Orchestra performs every Sunday night at Swing 46 from 9 to midnight. For Arts in the City, I'm Susan Junn.
From big band in New York City to European folk music, Craig Thompson sat down with Ukrainian Village Voices, a New York City-based choir whose mission is to celebrate the singing style of Ukraine's villages.
Inside a building in the East Village of New York, a small choir is rehearsing the music of rural Ukraine.
I think a lot of people come here, it's their solace. We come here from all walks of life, all ages. Sometimes we just don't want to be there, but we know when we get there, everything's just going to melt, and you feel so much better after the rehearsal. You really do.
This is Ukrainian Village Voices. The main instrument in this group is the human voice. That is, not just vocal cords, but a collective voice that reaches back hundreds of years. Musical director Joanna Mieleszko, a Hunter College graduate, explains.
We perform as well as learn music pertaining to the vocal polyphonic traditions of Ukraine's villages. And all of this music is sustained through the oral tradition. So through generations, from mother to daughter, from generation to generation, this music is passed on orally.
Village music from Ukraine hails from the 19th century or even earlier, but owing to the emotional power that emanates from these songs, it is not just Ukrainians or Ukrainian Americans who participate.
Eastern European folk music really moves me, has historically moved me quite a bit. So like getting to, instead of just listening to it, spectating it for a long time, getting to become a practitioner of it in a more involved way, really kind of was a tremendous bounty in my life.
James Kogan has sung for a few years with the choir.
It's cool that the choir is born out of this orientation toward like authenticity, toward doing like field work and taking things from the source and stuff like that. And increasingly it's like, over the years that I've been in it, a lot of people come and give workshops, bringing people who are in, just like heritage groups or just like on the ground, kind of singing that music back in Ukraine.
The group performs all over the city, outdoors at Lincoln Center, at Bryant Park, the Harvard Club, and this year, again, at the Brooklyn Folk Festival.
They're wonderful people and bring wonderful musicians to town. We absolutely adore that space. I mean, singing in the church, St. Anne's Church, is just so resonant and powerful. You don't have to even sing that loudly, it just carries.
Although the choir is based in New York, the Russian attack on Ukraine is something that bears heavily on some of the singers' minds.
We had a moment a few days after the invasion started where an organization here in East Village called Razom for Ukraine, which means Together for Ukraine, organized a concert for Ukrainians just so we can feel what's going on and to come together and to just mourn or it was just a confusing moment, right? We didn't know what was happening, right? The country was under attack. A lot of people only hear about the war now in Ukraine, and that's what they associate with Ukraine, which is fine. But it's also our role to say, hey, Ukraine has this amazing tradition as well. It's enjoyable, it's diverse, and so they can connect with Ukraine on a different level.
Obviously, this last year, the most memorable event has been a very terrible one, and so it precipitated a lot of performance opportunities. I wish we could have had these opportunities without that tragic backdrop. All of us have been very grateful for having the opportunity to not only help in some way, but also platform songs from the villages. These are often voices that are neglected.
In 2018, some of the singers traveled to rural areas of Ukraine.
I remember one of the first villages we went to was out in the northeast of the country. You know, we're like traveling for hours in this little bus and this little van, and we get out and like the whole village is waiting for us. You know, the women are there dressed up with this like welcoming bread they call the korovai, and their like media journalists are there. You know, it was just we're just here to learn this music and to share.
Going back to the land that birthed these songs only strengthened the choir's love of the music and performance. And the Ukrainian Village Voices will continue creating cultural bridges, community, and connection.
This is already referred to as a tradition that is sort of dying out. I feel like the last 10, 20 years, a lot of scholars have been catalyzed to preserve the singing traditions of Ukraine. And the last year has, made that mission even more urgent.
For Arts in the City, I'm Craig Thompson.
That is our show for today. Thanks so much for watching. A quick reminder to check us out on social media. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Carol Ann Riddell. See you next time on Arts in the City.